What is Coach Erwin Claggett, head coach of SLUH basketball? What is he doing right now to prepare for the season?
Well, just from a teaching standpoint, get ready for parent-teacher conference. Making sure everything. We at like out of the midpoint, so a lot of guys are trying to get situated before the second quarter kind of gets underway. We're already a weekend, I guess, but before we get kind of deep into it. So I'm kind of doing the same, pretty much planning, practice schedule planning, holiday practice schedule planning. I have freshman signups coming up. I had one a couple of days ago, but they got another one tomorrow for those that didn't make it. So just a lot of the administration type of deals getting ready for a season, man. That's, this week, because once this week starts and we're Monday, I'm in there at pretty much at 8:00 and leaving at 6:00 every day,
so
the next few months.
So do you take this time to even kind of like decompress, to even, I know you feel with a lot of the administrative stuff and making sure that all of the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, but what do you do to kind of prepare to get ready for like just a mental approach for the next 5 months?
Well, I've been because I took a big break, from it. Last year from a personal standpoint, was kind of like the roughest year of my entire life last year. So I kind of took a break from it all, man. I traveled this fall, this summer. I traveled a lot. Kind of got away from basketball, just got away from the monotony of being in the gym and all of that. I just took a break from it all. So at this moment now, I'm already kind of in go mode. I've been, basically taking in NBA games, looking at video and film from last year and what ways we can improve. So I've been pretty much in that mode for the last couple of weeks.
So just looking back on last year, because I mean, it was difficult pretty much for everybody. So just from the standpoint of kind of figuring out like, what can you say, what worked and what didn't work as far as preparing the team for, because again, we've never went through anything like this in our history. Right. But from a coaching standpoint, what do you think? What are some of the things that worked last year?
And the things that worked was I had to do a lot of teaching, and when I say teaching, I mean just talking to the kids about like life, and because some of the policies and rules and things like that we were up under, they felt it was a little unfair, but at the same time, I had to do a lot of teaching to kind of show them how important it was and how we had to kind of be leaders in a situation that we were all involved in, especially us, because we did a lot of testing last year that really hindered our, I think it hindered our development a little bit, but it was all for the necessary good. But I think a lot of that just kind of talking, trying to keep the guys pretty much tight, locked in, because there were times where we didn't know if we were going to have games. Definitely there were times where practices were limited in what we can do. So I think I had to take a different approach, more of a life approach, of just keeping them locked into, trying to be better people, trying to be better ball players, and trying to navigate that through like COVID. That was very, very difficult for us. So I think we did a really good job of it. And I think the boys, kind of have to commend them for being so patient and tolerable to a lot of situations that we had to overcome.
Mm-hmm. So what were some of the things you felt like didn't work? Because I mean, you talked about the testing pretty much, every 2 weeks, and I was in that same boat. And I look back, I only played 7-8 games, but I mean, for the most part, I feel like it was best for our school community to just, play it safe. And, it's unfortunate for some of the, the kids that had to graduate last year and some of the things that they had to deal with. But I think overall, it was the best thing for, like I said, for our community. But what were some of the things you felt like didn't work?
Probably some of the things that didn't work Man, it's kind of hard to kind of when I really think about it, I'm really trying to grab at it because I think we made the most out of every like difficult situation that we had. You know, definitely some things we probably could have done better. Um, is finding we were just hit with it so quickly. So finding like a format, a practice format that we can that would be beneficial you know, to our kids like development. I thought we did the best we could given the situation that we were in. But definitely if I had to do it over again and I had to come across that situation, our day-to-day, as far as how we approach practice and the limited like capacity that we had as far as being together, I would probably do some things differently. Try to get the most out of, you know, what we were dealing with. Even though I think we did okay last year, I think we could have done a lot better in that aspect.
Right. Because I mean, sometimes people don't realize, man, that as a head coach, man, you wear so many hats and you have to think about the big picture. And I think, you know, on a small level, we can just talk about, all right, we lost game. But on the bigger picture, it's just looking at, you know, our overall health, you know, making sure that we come out of this to be able to say, we can continue to play a sport that we love. You know what I mean? Because you got to think, man, so many industries were affected, so many, you know, different, you know, people livelihood was affected. But, you know, us as being educators, we were able to go back to the classroom and then sit and wait to see, you know, how this thing was going to play out. But I just think overall, the bigger picture was making sure that we can kind of come out of this healthy. Overall, do you kind of feel that way too?
Oh, definitely. I think you had to look at, you know, and not that I was reckless before, but you kind of have to check even your off court and out of school lifestyle. You know, you have to be careful about where you go, people you surrounded with. You know, they have to pretty much have the same level of concern dealing with COVID that you have, because as we know, you know, this thing got politicized so bad and people had different levels of concern. And at the same time, a lot of people were dying and people were getting sick, you know, so that's always in the back of your mind as a coach, as you're around so many young kids. You definitely think about, you don't want to be responsible for putting them in a situation where they get sick and they take it home to parents and grandparents and people in that family and they get sick because you don't know how that's going to go. So you have to check yourself away from the gym and away from school and how you move, you know, and at the same time, you got to ask that of your kids as well. You know, you have to ask them, young adults that have been locked up, you know, and all of a sudden get a little bit of breathing room to kind of check their social life, you know, and kind of do the same thing for the greater good, like you said, to just play games and have an opportunity, because we didn't know we were going to have that opportunity.
Right.
And we understood at any moment that opportunity could be taken away from us, you know. So dealing with that drama and that pressure every day, kind of as a caretaker of a program, it was tough because, you know, you might want to go, you know, and out to eat, even though you got to wear a mask and you got to check yourself and be like, man, I probably can't do that because I can't jeopardize my boys.
Right.
So you got to have your boys kind of, everybody got to be on the same page with that. You know, if everybody sacrificed, our goal was number one, I told the boys, is we want to be healthy. We want families healthy, you know, and we want to have an opportunity to play a couple of games and have some fun, you know, and we accomplished all those things.
Man, no, them some good nuggets, man. I kind of want to just dial back just a bit, man, and just kind of talk about, like, man, the Venice Menace, man. What did the birth of that start? Because I don't know if I ever told you this, but just thinking back, man, like you've affected so many, you know, even like head coaches today, guys that are around, man, just watching your upbringing, you coming up playing basketball, like you were like our straight idol growing up. So just talk about the birth of the Venice Menace, how that came about, and what were your thoughts just looking back on it?
Man, it's crazy because, I mean, naturally we all love the game, and like I just love basketball. I love everything about it. It gave me so much growing up, and it's, you know, it's continued to give, you know, now, you know, people always look at like the monetary benefits that some get. And I think it's equally, we don't get the monetary benefits of an NBA player, but equally we get the emotional benefit, and it's satisfying just the same, you know, as we're developing and we're shepherds of like young lives and things like that. So it's something that I didn't envision. Like growing up, being where I am, I was gonna make a whole bunch of money, make some millions, find me a beautiful wife. I was able to do that, accomplish that part. But yeah, man, you know, coming from basically the hood, you know,
Right.
growing up, if I was gonna go to college, it was gonna be by basketball. That was my only option, you know. So it was just like a gambler pushing all his chips in the middle. And I married the game at a very, very young age. And yeah, it was either hoops or bust for me, you know. So that was my mentality. So when y'all were a little bit younger and I was growing up, I loved it, but it was definitely always have been like a business approach for me, because I've had a lot of people around me that I grew up that were just as talented as I was, but probably didn't have the same mindset that I did, and they fell by the wayside. So I learned those lessons, man, and it carried with me. And I had no idea it was gonna carry me to St. Louis U. You know, my freshman year was tumultuous, you know, and at the tail end of it, I caught fire and I played well. And Bob Rammer came up with a name called the Venice Menace. And that was it. And from then it was born, the Menace was born, man. And playing basketball at St. Louis U, I got to play in front of friends and family. I stayed close to home. So my mom never missed a home game. Went to a lot of road games, away games, and made away. I have no idea how she was able to do it, but she did. But it was just a lot of fun, man. Like I said, I think a big part of my development was a lot of the people that I played with. You know, I played with a real good group of guys, you know, and I tell my kids that all the time. Like, my brothers are, I have a lifetime bond with the guys that I play with, you know, from Scott to H to DC to Dave to Jeff, like Lowe's, C. Carl Turner, like Donnie Dobbs, all of these guys that I didn't know before. Basketball gave me a relationship and a love and a bond that I couldn't even like imagine or like dream of. And you know that, you know, you played at that level. You know, so when I was playing, man, I was playing for a lot of people, you know. Playing for me was like last on the list. You know, I was playing for mom, I was playing for my neighborhood, Venice and Madison community, definitely impoverished, drug-ridden, but a lot of love in the community. I was playing for a lot of people back at home, and just to get them hope and get them something to look forward to, you know, whenever we had games. So that was my why, man. My why was really deep, you know. I didn't have anything to do with, yeah, the NBA was in my mind, but it had to do with like the now. I knew the effect that I was having on, I really did know the effect I was having on like the St. Louis community, on
Oh
kids like
man, like
you.
man,
Yeah,
you
so
don't, man. It's crazy because it's just like, man, y'all were household names,
yeah.
and just on the fact of like Channel 11, Channel 30,
Yeah.
you was waiting for a Billikin game to come on, and this before the ESPN different ESPN
Right.
packages and all of that. It was like being dialed in, whether if you had cable or not. You turn on Channel 11, Channel 30, and these were like, yeah, like y'all were like larger than life people, and it was just like that was our NBA. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. I can remember, and it was crazy because my freshman year I won 5 games. Like, I can remember playing at the arena, man, with like 300 fans, you know. And
What?
yeah, 300 people. You can hear a pin drop. And and then my junior year, I think I came out and it was like 20,000. You know, and you saw the mayor of the city, you saw different pro athletes, and you saw all of those things. But even though that was there, the thing that really, I think that had all my teammates and I like really kind of locked in and like putting on for the city was the effect we had on like kids that were coming up behind us, you know,
Right.
like you. and Larry and all of those guys that were coming up, because we knew that the city was going to be good, you know. So it was definitely a reputation that we wanted to like take on the court, but off the court as well, man. Like that was really important to us. You know, you got guys like yourself, and you know, as I got older and seeing you in college and all of that, like I was proud, like literally like a big brother, you know, because we came from similar struggles, and we were, and you were going through the same thing that I had been going through, and enjoying some of the same success that I had. So I felt like I was definitely a part of that. So it started there.
Man, nah, and just real quick, like talk about spoon ball. Like what was spoon ball, and what was some of the things that you learned for playing for Coach Charlie Spoonhour that you even still carry to this day with, you know, the development of your team. So talk about what spoon ball was.
Spoon ball, honestly, people don't even probably wouldn't believe it, was really centered around defense. Like Spoon came in and I had never guarded like I guarded, you know, and I was a horrible defender. Like I was
your 3-point shot was your defense.
that was my defense. Yeah. But like stopping people and playing defense, it wasn't like a household thing, you know. But Spoon came in and Spoon made it cool for us, because right away we saw like the winning. And then the fact that he preached, the more defense you play, the more stops you get, the more you can shoot, you know. So it kind of, and it made sense. It was like, man. And he never said anything to us about offense. He just told me when he first came in, I was going to transfer. I was looking at Iowa State or Northern Iowa. Iowa State, they recruited me out of high school with Johnny Orr and the late great Johnny Orr, and Northern Iowa had recruited me. They had Dale Turner, who came from my high school, was another great
shout out to Dale. Shout out to Dale.
St. Louis and Missouri. Dale was phenomenal, like big time, bigger than Northern Iowa, but he went to Northern Iowa. But and I was gonna leave, and he called me in the office and he said, "Look, I'm gonna tell you." He gave me tapes. Mr. Golden, Coach G, gave me some tapes of Winston Garland, who played at Southwest Missouri State. Winston played in the league. His son is in the league now, Darius Garland, with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But he gave me some film, and I watched Winston, and Winston shot the ball every single time down the floor. And I told Spoon, I was like, yeah, I've been watching Winston. You gonna let me shoot it like that? He said, I tell you what, as long as you get in a defensive stance, whenever you get your feet set, you can let it go. So spoon ball was basically predicated on stopping the other team and shooting a lot of threes, because that's what we did. We had myself, we had Scott, we had H, we had Carl Turner. Dobbs can shoot threes. David Robinson can shoot threes. We had a multitude of weapons that were really good at filling it up from the outside. And, you know, he kind of fostered that, man. And that was probably a little different than the way he played in the past. But that was spoon ball. Spoon ball was letting it fly. Spoon ball was getting stops and having a lot of fun. That was it.
Man, I mean, but did you imagine even going into, I mean, you start to see the effects of it, but like, what was the 94 season?
Yeah.
You guys just kind of jumped out and was just like we couldn't believe, like, man, St. Louis is on the map. So just talk about that as far as just that progress of you see results. And even to this day, when I think when kids actually, you know, you may preach certain things, but I think if they start to see just a little hope in there, that you can kind of get them to do anything once they start seeing some type of a result from it. So talk about the winning part back when, was it 94? The 94?
Yeah, about season? It kind of turned my sophomore year. We went to a conference tournament and we beat Marquette, was ranked top 10 in the country. And we played in the Great Midwest at the Pyramid. And we upset Marquette. We were the last seed in the conference tournament. We got to the semifinals. We played Memphis State with Penny Hardaway. And that game came down to the end. I think me and Penny had a duel, and we knew then that we had something pretty special. So yeah, definitely that next year, that 93, 94, and 94, 95 season. Honestly, BT, I liken it pretty much to the way Golden State plays now. You know, David Robinson was kind of like that Draymond. even though he shot it better than Draymond. But we ran a lot of stuff through David because he can play on the perimeter and inside. We had a lot of different weapons. We shared the ball so well. Even though there was kind of a pecking order where it was going to go, everybody ate. And we shot a lot of threes. It was an open motion. It was a free-flowing offense. It was unselfish. So it was a little bit before its time. You go back and probably look at our film and look at games now. They would probably really resemble each other. Back when we played, it was still a big man game. You threw the ball inside and you spotted up and waited for the big to throw it out. We did something a little bit different, and it helped us win a lot of games. And it was a lot of fun to watch. And it was a lot of fun to play at the same time.
Yeah, because I mean, you got like H. Wallman, Scott Howard, like them guys were, I mean, you wouldn't call them stretch fours. They were just perimeter players that knew how to shoot, And then when you look at someone like a Donnie Dobbs was like an undersized big man, And so you guys just made it fun to watch, man. And I just think, man, it's funny that I'm even just sitting up here just talking to you right now. Cause again, it's just like, we sat and we watched all of these games during that time. And so what are some of the things, just going back, what were some of the things that you learned that you kind of, that you carry on even to this day that you kind of take with you from your college teams?
Oh man. Definitely from a practice standpoint of development, I still use some of the same defensive drills that we used. Some of the offensive jargon. We did a lot of drive and kick, things of that nature. A lot of, one more pass and sharing the ball. It's so crazy. Like I go down to SLUH practice and I hear kids talking about one more. And we did that back then, and we talked about the ball flying around and sharing the basketball. And, so that's definitely things that I implement into my team, especially now. It's so funny. The NBA game changes, so then the college game changes, and then the high school game changes.
Yeah, that's how it comes. It's like a
that's kind of how
effect.
It goes. Yeah. So we definitely do a lot of that now. Defensively, we do a lot of the same things I do. I still do some of the same drills that I did with Spoon when I was a player. From ball roll to diving on floors to, how you're gonna play ball screens. I still use his ball screen defenses. Those things are timeless. And definitely from the offensive perspective, just the mentality of sharing it, passing up a good one to get a great one. All of those things, we all talked about when I played, and those are things that I still talk about to this day as a coach.
Mm-hmm. Do you find it hard making that transition from being, to some, a legend, but then transitioning to the coaching world where, you're not gonna, to some it's hard. And I think a lot of the kids have that expectation, like, man, I have to live up to the standard of my coach if he's considered that type of person. Do you have those same situations that you go through? And how was it making that transition from a legend to the coaching world?
Man, that's a great question, BT. When I first started coaching, that's the thing that I struggled with early, because IQ-wise, I've always been even though I was kind of athletic, I wasn't athletic like these guys are nowadays, but I was a little smallish as far as, being even a combo. I had long arms. I was pretty athletic, but being 6'1", 6'2", that's still on the smaller side, and most times I played off the ball because it was a betterment for the team because I was a good shooter, but those are things I struggled with early, of kids not able to see the game the same way that I did when I first started coaching. So I would get frustrated by it, and my first, couple of years coaching, my mom sat me down and she was just like, they don't see the game the way you see the game. So you gotta show them the game, how they need to see it, so I started doing the things a little bit different. And I started a lot more teaching. And definitely in my last 10 years, when I got to McClure, at McClure, I was really athletic. I was quick, sometimes undersized, but I could use my quickness to my advantage. So I relied on that. When I got to SLUH, I couldn't rely on that anymore. So I had to be even more cerebral in the way I approached the game. the schemes and different things that I wanted to do. So definitely, I think it's difficult for guys that had a lot of success playing basketball, especially when you have it at the college level, because you you have to be very good to have success at the D1 level. You talk about people scoring 1,500, 2,000. You've been there. You understand it. Like, you have to be a very good basketball player to have success at that level, and that still doesn't make you an NBA player, but definitely as a college player, because it's difficult. You can do so many things. You can clog the lane. You can take guys away, and for you to still get it in college, you have to have it figured out. So now, as a high school basketball coach with impressionable 15, 16, 17-year-olds, how you going to get them that game that you have? And that's the challenge, you know what I mean? And it's a daily challenge every time you're talking to them, so you got to figure out your kids, figure out which way you're going to approach it, what's going to be some non-negotiables, what's going to be some things that you're going to negotiate, that you're going to be able to negotiate, So definitely, that's a great question, man. That's something that I struggled with early on as a coach. And even to this day, you have to check yourself. You're looking at them like, dude, what? And now I ask a question always, especially with my PGs. I'm really hard on my PGs, and I've been blessed to have some really good ones, just like you have. What you see, and have that dialogue and that conversation, because they're on the floor, and then we can walk through it, and I can kind of get a better understanding of where they're coming from. So, but definitely that's a challenge. That is a challenge, and it's ongoing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm right there with you. It's like one of those things where the game slows down so much for us, and we looking at it in like slow motion, and it's kind of hard to just be like, man, like, look, y'all don't see this. This is gonna happen. Like we seeing light years ahead, and we trying to put all of this into our kids, but again, they 14, 15, 16, and they don't really see it. They basing everything off quickness, athleticism, but like thinking the game, like taking it and keeping it as like it's a game within the game, like just breaking it down to just different parts of it. You got and what I like to do sometimes, I like to switch it up, even though we're talking about basketball, but I like to look at other sports and just try to see, okay, how are they playing this game? Are they making it simple? And then trying to convert that over to making the basketball game simple. You know what I mean? As simple as possible, and try to just take them through it. Because again, with the kids that we deal with, pretty much everybody grew up on playing either baseball, football, basketball. And even if you just throw those things out in the gym class, they're going to have some type of success with it. So it's just like bringing certain things to that level, and then just trying to, sprinkle it and switch it over to, all right, this is how we're going to approach this basketball game. But again, I get players that, they hear the conversations, man, your coach used to do this, your coach used to do that. And they think that that's what I want from them. And I like to tell them all the time, like I played for some good teams, and I had to play a different role on each one of those teams. And all I'm asking for you guys is to learn the game. And at some point, you're going to have to make a sacrifice. What you did your freshman year, we may need you to do a little bit more when you're a senior, and that doesn't mean come down and just shoot it 20 times. But at the same time, it's just like reflect on what we need to do to win ultimately. You know what I mean? Do you have some of those conversations? Because you have some hell of a players to come through your program. And I'm pretty sure all of them had different type of mentalities. So kind of talk to that as far as trying to coach that, as far as players that you've had in the past, and some of the things that you kind of, that you saw from each one of them that you can consider having success from those guys.
I think the biggest, you said it right there, like looking at the game from different sports. I always talk about, like I said, I've been really fortunate to have really good guards, always going back to McClure. I can think of like, Rob Martins and Marvis Peebles and, Leon Watkins and Michi Flores, Pep,
Bogas, Peps, all those guys.
Shaq Boga and Lonnie Boga. I've been blessed, with some really good guards. And then I go to SLUH and I got Nestor, I got Brandon, I got Mikey Sanders. Now I got Jaden McClain and AJ Walker. Like I've been really, really fortunate. But the one common denominator with all those guys when they were young, they didn't talk, and they didn't conversate. They didn't know how to hold a conversation on the court that would lead to something good. They were all good individual players. And it was more so about what can they do individually to help us win. So and I try to take the approach and I'm like, look, how many quarterbacks, get behind center and don't talk? How many quarterbacks don't call out the cadence or what play or audible? How many of you know that do that? So as a point guard, you're playing offense and defense. How can you be on the floor as a point guard, as any player, but definitely as a point guard and not talk? If I call out a play and you don't tell the other kids on the court, what kind of point guard are you? Right. So I take it like to different approaches like that. And trying to get them to understand that. And then secondly, how are you going to lead? You can't be a good leader on the floor if you're not a good leader off the floor. Mm-hmm. If you're a jerk off the floor, when you get on the floor and you get on somebody, ain't nobody gonna listen to you. You know what I'm saying? And if your house is dirty, you can't tell somebody else to clean up their room. So now I put a lot of responsibility on them, and they have to be accountable for their own actions, not only on the floor, but off the floor. Because it's gonna come from me on what you're gonna do and what we need to do. But I think in certain positions on the floor and certain people on your team, it's gonna be on them to make sure those things get done. I get on Kramer, Nick Kramer about that all the time. I get on Jaden McClain about that all the time. And they're two of the strongest leaders that I had. Different styles of leaders, different style of leadership. But they both want to win, but they both have to understand that they have shortcomings in Jaden not being aggressive enough with his voice when he knows right. And then with Nick that knows right, but so focused on what he has to do to help us win. So and that's the mind game you got to constantly play with them. I tell my kids all the time, man, like how you become a better player is you become a better person. Mm-hmm. So the better person you are, the more people will follow you. Right. So even if you don't know what the hell you're talking about or you leading them around the wrong path, if they have trust in you, you're going to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, so unless you got that uber talented dude, in 1 year, he going to be gone anyway. But even that kid can destroy your program.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because he can set a precedent and he can leave something behind that everybody else look at and be like, oh, I can do that. And they don't have the same talent. So now you behind the 8 ball in that too, so that's the approach that I try to take, when it comes to that. But that's a good analogy when you talk about telling kids to look at other sports and how they approach it, because you can learn something from that.
Yeah. I mean, and just, and looking at different things in life, like just like you said, just being a good person and then just being that model too, especially from the head coach and down, like, a lot of the kids, like, and we know this with having kids, they watching every single thing you do. So you can't be over here talking one thing and then they sitting back and they watching one thing, they gonna act up on that, so that's just making sure that, if you're gonna walk the walk, things have to be in a line with each other. You can't be straddling that fence. And I think I'm real cautious of that. And any coach that's watching that's, that has any, effect over young men and women, to just make sure that, you be real careful, because I mean, we on the front lines when it comes to this stuff. And it's just making sure that we doing the things necessary to lead them the right way and not, kind of faking it. Because again, like I said, they're going to be able to sniff it out as easy as you put it out there. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think, and especially with us as high school, we like you said, on the front line. So we at the basement, pretty much. So the kids that leaving our program, everybody want to win the district and the state title every year. That should be the ultimate goal for everybody. Even teams that I had that wasn't as good, that was a goal. You got to have something that you're gonna work at, right?
Right.
Now the question becomes, your kids know you like to win. but they're gonna watch and see what you're gonna sacrifice to win.
That's
Are
deep.
you gonna sacrifice morals? Are you gonna sacrifice letting kids cut corners? Are you gonna sacrifice lying to kids? Or are you gonna say, I don't give a damn. I'm gonna give it to you real all the time. I'm gonna push you, and I'm gonna be okay with you failing and succeeding. Yeah, I'm gonna jump you when you don't play well, but after I jump you, I'm gonna give you a hug and be like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. Or the next day in the hallway, we're gonna talk about something other than a basketball game. Right. You know, so you said a lot about, you know, what your kids, you don't know how much they're watching you. And they are your actions as a high school basketball coach is your leadership.
Yeah.
You don't have to say a word. Like, I don't have to say a word, and my kids know everything that I'm about, you know, but that's because of the way I carry, not who I am or what I've done, because some of them don't even know, you know, but they know when they're talking to me, and they know when they're out in the community, or when people talk about me, it's the same person that they see every day in practice. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's very important. That's probably my biggest achievement as a coach, is when, you know, I hear people come up and like, oh, I met your kid, and I met such and such, and they all have the same story about me. That means I'm doing something right.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's something that I think as high school basketball coaches, we should all aspire to be. Unfortunately, as we know, it's a lot of coaches that aren't on that page, because it's more about them. You know, you had your time, I had my time, so it ain't about us.
Right. No,
Yeah,
and then we in a profession anyway of serving. Like, you know,
yes,
all this knowledge that we have, man,
yes,
we like to serve. What you need,
yes.
I'm here for you. And we can't look at, you know, if we was in a different industry, if we was at the college or the pro level, and it's about a business, and it'd be a whole lot different. Then I can, you know, dress a certain way, talk a certain way, behave a certain way, because it's about that, as opposed to
your success
serving.
is performance based. Yeah, our success is not performance based.
No.
You know, and when the time come, if SLUH ever tap me on the shoulder and say it's about performance based, then I gladly walk away, because that's not what I got it. I'm 6 wins away from 300. I didn't get into it to have 300 wins though. You know what I mean? Like, I've been blessed to be in situations and be around people where my presence and my activity is not performance based. You know what I mean? You're not in a situation where it's performance based. You know, I know you, little bro. Like, when people talk about Bryan Turner and Coach Turner, I can talk to any of your kids. I watch you on the sideline. You know, I learn from you just as much as you learn from me. That's just how it goes. You know what I'm saying? But it's more so not even as a coach, but just as a mentor and as a caregiver, you know, a shepherd of lives, and watch how you interact with different people. You know what I'm saying? So those things are important, man. And when those things stop being important where I am, I gladly walk away.
No, that's gold, man. And in closing, so just real quick, man, let's just talk about the team. Like what are your expectations? What do you look for in the team? And just talk a little bit about the guys you have returning, a little bit of the conference, because I mean, you probably in one of the toughest conferences, man, in the state and probably in the country. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so just kind of talk about that as far as the guys you bringing back, conference, and then your outlook on the season.
Man, I'm really excited about the season, because over the last 3 years with a few guys, a handful of guys, I've gotten to see like some personal development, like them become better young men, them becoming leaders, people that care about other people, you know, and it's kind of shown in the way that their game has progressed. You know, I mentioned like our senior group that I have now been playing pretty much since they're freshmen. They've seen a little bit of everything. Right. You know, people don't even understand. Our first year, when I started 4 freshmen. They won 5 games, but Jaden broke his wrist the second day of practice. Nick broke his wrist the third game. Kevin Hogan was sick pretty much for the entirety of the whole school year. You know, I had other kids that were out and injured, you know, so, and then they all came back. So I got to see them then, and I got to see them where they are now. And that what gives me excitement. Not the fact that I think we're going to win some games or we got a chance to do this, a chance to do that. I'm just excited about, you know, them and their development just as people and players that love playing with each other. It's exciting when your kids like coming to practice and like being around each other and playing and hooping, and that gives me joy because that reminds me of me growing up. Like my best friends growing up were people that I played with, and every day I was on the court with them was like the best moment in the world, and I didn't take that for granted. So when you coaching kids that take that same approach, that's the win. You know, those are things that so as far as the team, that's what excites me about my team this year. Definitely seeing Nick's development over the course of 4 years and now getting a Division I scholarship, you know, Jaden to get him something where he gonna go to school. Seeing Kevin Hogan last year, we didn't know if he was gonna play basketball again. And then seeing him come in this year and he's running and dunking and getting up and down the floor. So it's just an exciting time. And these guys have really laid the framework because a lot of younger guys after them are pretty good and they're looking up to them. So we had a 3-year lull a little bit, but I don't want to say it's a lull. It's just a developmental phase for our program. But I think the program is in pretty good hands for a few years to come. So yeah, I'm excited about this year, man. You know, like you coach Yuri, you coach Yuri, you know, I can imagine seeing Yuri coming down, man, and how he made everybody better. And you saw not only that, but you saw his development from when you took over as what, he was a sophomore.
It was his I think it's junior year.
Oh, it was his junior year. But his junior and senior year, especially senior year development, was just crazy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and then you got guys came after him, they're on a similar path, and now you got his younger brother, mm-hmm. you know, who's on that same path. So, you know, man, you know, all the kids are special, but when you got kids with attributes like that care about the other kids they play with and like playing with each other and love playing for each other, that's the win. So that's what I'm excited about.
Man, no, you're doing a great job, Coach, man, especially with just developing that culture. You know what I mean? Like that's you cultivated a culture of, you know, just like you said, development, and you know, you'll get your praise throughout this year, man. Because I sit back and I watch, man. I know y'all loaded up over there, man. So just take it one game at a time. So
one game at a time, one practice. That's how, man. You know how I go.
Yep. No, so I appreciate your time, man. This was gold right here, man. Different outlets, man. I think, you know, you got a message, you know, that you need to make sure that, and I know I want to do my job and giving you your flowers right now. You know what I'm saying? While we, you know, we colleagues in this coaching world, in this education world, man. But man, you've affected a lot of lives around here, man. You know, for the better, and I think that's huge. So
I appreciate that, BT.
Yeah. So
and the same thing with you, man. Good luck this year, man. I'm looking forward to watching you, man. I always like watching your team get up and down, man. And you know, y'all play a different style than we have in the past. So it's good to see, man. And it's just good to see just what you're doing, man, as far as the way you carry yourself, the way you promote your program, the way you in it for the kids, man. You all in it for the right reasons, man.